can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, guess any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. I got Bo in between me and McLovin over there on the end. Good morning, guys. Excuse me. What's happening?
That's a good day. Clearly, I'm in the middle to be a moderator, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm doing well. As you know, man, this weekend is going to be hyped up with a lot of good sports. So as we get closer and closer to Saturday, man, it's it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, obviously nobody's going to be able to see the Saturday night game, so we're all going to watch Saturday afternoon with great interest, and hope that somebody can, pick up the cock to be able to play, to be able to watch.
You got froze again.
I'm hearing him.
Okay.
You hear me? Fine. Yeah, I hear myself fine too. So I think it's just you.
Yep. Must be on your end. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm probably going to go, to a local sports bar or something to watch it. Maybe hit up Wild Wings, right? Go get some wings.
Wild Wings still waiting to get your stuff, in so that you could be our sponsor.
Absolutely. It was, especially because I didn't end up making it this last week. I ended up having an ignition coil in my truck die on my way there, and I ended up being in a parking lot fixing that, and then ended up going to Red Robin instead to watch the championship game because I would have missed an hour of it had I continued on. So still waiting on wings.
Red Robin, yum. So.
Hey.
Yeah, this doesn't like a good wings place though to have a good championship game. I
was bummed. I mean, also I was bummed because I was standing in the rain fixing my truck, so that was
I would imagine so. If you had,
Yeah, that's never fun when you're standing in the rain. And we had storms last night. Oh my Lord! I had thought there was trees that came down, power lines, all this stuff. It got a little nuts here last night. So I didn't know.
But when I hear you talk about that, Bo, all I think about is that one commercial that has iced tea in it. Talking about that car, whatever that place is, that they'll come out, pick up your crap, and take it to the nearest fix-it station, fix it for you for free. I can't remember what the name that company is, but you know the commercial I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's like Auto Shield or something like
that.
Yeah,
Car Shield. It's those Car Shield commercials.
Something like that. So something you probably don't know about me is I actually spent a huge portion of my professional career in automotive. I'm a 3-time master tech, so I don't actually have anybody work on my crap.
There you go. How about that?
You're in the parking lot with rain.
Yeah. Well, when electrical failures happens, that they happen.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. Hey, listen. So you never know what you're going to learn here on Coast to Coast. I mean, we have a master technician of cars. I am a master hearth technician of chimneys. I know everything that there is to know about a chimney. So there you go. And then we have a master Bader over there. He's really.
I knew that was coming.
You know what? And I was going to let him have it. I was like, you know what? That's what I do. That's how unselfish I am. For the sake of the show, I take those. I do. He makes good content.
And I tell you, it's awfully. He was awfully quiet when I did his show there yesterday as well. So it's interesting to see how Jay can turn it down a little bit when he wants to. So, hey, so I'm going to start off. God damn. I'm going to start off with the Giants, actually. That's Wink Martindale not the Wink Martindale from Card Sharks, that everybody knows and loves from there. But Wink Martindale cursed out, Brian Dable, saying that he shouldn't have been fired. Actually, that this was really, it was a team thing, and that it really wasn't one person. So he was a little upset about it, and they actually had a very heated exchange going into that.
Well, you can't place all of this on Wink because, of course, his defensive stats were terrible. The offense couldn't stay on the field ever. I mean, you could have the best defense in the world, and if they're on the field for 45 minutes, the numbers are going to look bad.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to get exhausted after a while. You can only do so much. And look, the majority of that is not the defense's fault, like you said. The majority of it is on the offensive side. The fact you have no quarterback, no wide receiver one, and you got a hobbled up Saquon Barkley. I mean, what do you want them to do?
Yeah. Well, and they were on pace to set the all-time sack record, but on the wrong side. They were going to relinquish the most amount of sacks in NFL history. I mean, fortunately, right at the end, they were able to figure a couple of things out. But, I mean, they weren't exactly on a pace to wow anybody on offense. So, your defense is going to look like trash. It's not like it's an elite defense anyway. But if you're going to be on the field the whole time, those stats are going to be horrendous.
And I do think Kayvon Thibodeau is actually doing quite well over there with New York. I mean, he's not on a big-name defense, but if you look at his sacks and everything, I mean, he is doing quite well. I mean, he's kind of a one-man crew over there. So as soon as they keep adding more pieces onto that defense when they can, I imagine it's just going to improve dramatically. But you can't improve when you're on the field so much.
I guess at the same time, your stat numbers should go up if you're on the field all day. Eventually, you should get home.
Well, that's true.
Well, and most of the coaches were fired during, from the Giants, and they kept. Obviously, Daboll stayed, but Wink Martindale was talking about how he was going to possibly resign, and the fight that he had with Brian says, "You know what? I ain't resigning now. Now you guys got to let me go." So that's why he got fired. Had he resigned, the Giants could have all right, they could have withheld his money and said, okay, and, not allowed him to go anywhere else because he had 1 year left on his contract and stuff like that. But now that they fired him, they got to pay him, and he can go somewhere else. So, or he could do nothing at all and just collect $3 million for doing nothing.
I think he heads right over to Jacksonville where they have a decent team, and he takes over that spot and creates his own team because they fired everybody on the whole defensive side. So he can go over there and create his own defensive staff if he wants to. If I'm Wink, I'm probably going to go to Jacksonville, and I'm going to enjoy those summer weathers.
Yeah, I mean, he could go to the Bears since they're going to force Eberflus to bring in DC. So, I mean, that could be an option too. Although he wanted to be a head coach somewhere.
Well, and that's where so that's a good transition there because I was going to go next to the Bears. That they say Eberflus is staying, that they're getting rid of Getsy. Getsy is gone. They let him go, and that obviously they need to get a defensive coordinator, a real defensive coordinator, on this team, so that that he could be only the head coach and not be head coach / defensive coordinator. So
they got rid of their quarterback coach as well, Andrew Janocko.
Yeah. What you said the other day, Tags? You said hire slow and fire fast. They need to fire Eberflus like as of yesterday. I mean, unless you really just think Eberflus is the guy, which I personally don't.
No,
I don't think he is either.
Good.
But I don't think he is either. However, I feel that again, you're only as good as your coordinators. The defense wasn't ridiculous, for this team. It was the offense not doing their job. So that's why they fired I think they fired their offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator. Quarterback.
If they liked how the defense was run, they wouldn't make him get a DC. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you want your name still in the mix for Harbaugh, I think you just clear house. You dangle that first overall pick in front of him. Look, you can build whatever you want here. We got a 1st and a 10th.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I heard a story about that saying that they thought that Harbaugh would be too much money.
yeah, but he could potentially be the game-changing coach that they need. That they haven't had in a long time.
That actually makes a ton of sense. It's the Bears. They're not going to spend money on that. I got you.
Yeah.
And that's why they're not going to go anywhere, because quite honestly, that isn't attractive for a head coach. That isn't a very attractive situation with what they have and what they have in picks. That's hugely attractive in cap space. I mean, that's hugely attractive. And, sometimes, like, what's the old adage? You got to spend money to make money. And I don't know why Chicago can't figure that out.
Hey, listen, that's why they bear down. Because
yeah, well, that's true.
They're
That's
down.
true.
They're really down.
That's why they say that, right? Just bear down and take it.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we mentioned yesterday that Vrabel was fired. Here was another thing I saw. Obviously, Sean Payton is not expected to release Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's so much money. You can't do that. Next year, after next year, sure. But this year, the cap hit would be insane.
Well, I mean, that's what happens. Sometimes you take it. You just take it. You deal with whatever you can. You realize that your team is not going to be very good because you're stuck under cap hell, and you get out of it, and then you move on with what you expect to be a top 7 pick. Maybe even top 1st pick. I mean, the defense is pretty good over there, so that's probably the hard part with that you're going to win games with your defense. But I mean, realistically, I don't know. I would get rid of it.
I just wonder, how does that work? If you're Sean Payton, are you going to ownership saying, look, I know we got to keep this guy on because of the money. Just don't expect a whole hell of a lot. And I need another year after that of job security to do what I really want to do.
Well, he signed a 10-year, right? So, I mean, like.
Yeah, but you know how that rolls. They can still let you go even on a 10-year if they wanted to. I mean, yeah, they'll eat your money, but.
Yeah, I mean, I figure he gets 5 no matter what.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I think financially and business-wise, they'd have to give him 5.
Well, yeah, because they're still paying Hackett.
Yeah.
Like, how many guys you want not in your building that you're paying? I mean, at some point, you're going to run out of cash. So,
no, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, they won't because,
they're Walmart. They're Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no chance they're running out of money. They're printing it. They're printing it over there. So I ain't worried about that. When they start to run out of money, I'll start laughing.
Is that right? So correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know much about Denver's ownership. Is it the Sam Waltons? Are they the ones that own the Bears now, or controlling interest?
The Broncos. They own the Broncos.
The Broncos. That's what I'm saying. They. Oh, okay. I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah,
I knew the Broncos were sold. I just didn't. I forgot who their ownership group was.
Yeah, so that's the Walmart conglomerate.
Yeah, they definitely aren't running out of money anytime soon.
But they would run out of patience, though.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the other thing that I saw that's going to be very interesting in this game, and it's such a small story, but it actually could have big ramifications. The Browns kicker is not going to play. He's hurt.
Wow.
So he's got a hamstring. So that could be a really big deal. I mean, I understand that you can kickers are kickers, but
what's happening over there?
Yeah, Jay's dog is trying to get on, somebody knocking at the door. I hear you knock, but you can't go in. That's exactly the opinion I have on Doc running for MVP. He can knock on the door, but he ain't coming in.
Yeah, he has too many guys in front of him. He'll probably get some votes, but he's not going to win. Realistically, at this point, Lamar probably wins.
Well, Lamar right now is a minus 20,000, in the betting world. So
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he wins. You're betting $20,000 to win 100. I think
Yeah.
that's a tough one there. But so yeah, I mean so those are some of the top stories that I saw. Like I said, the Bears doing their thing. I'm still surprised we haven't seen. I was listening to Shannon Sharp yesterday on First Take, and they were talking about how the Saints coach, uh, what the Saints did that, they lined up in victory formation and then scored the touchdown because the
Yeah.
one guy didn't score a touchdown, and the coach was like, had no idea, and of course, uh, Smith was like all pissed off because he knew he was going to get fired anyways, and it's like that was just dirty pool.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, it was dirty pool. And I was listening to Shannon Sharp's take on how he was like, first off, Jameis Winston should be cut from that team, and that coach should be fired. And I got to agree with him. I absolutely have to agree with him there.
I mean, I thought Dennis Allen should be fired anyway. To underperform the way he has with the roster he had,
Right.
there's no reason for him to be there. And clearly, if you got guys that are just doing whatever they want rogue-wise, that doesn't make sense. Releasing Jameis, absolutely. I mean, I could see that. They don't believe in him anyway. So, if he's going to coordinate something like that, then, yeah, I mean, he probably shouldn't be there. But at the same time, if you're going to do something like that, say you are Jameis and you're like, hey, we're going to get our guy a touchdown, then line up and show the defense you're going to do it, because those guys aren't they're not firing off the ball, right? They think you're just going to kneel it down, game's over, high five, call it a day. So if you're in victory formation and you do it, like that's a cheap
shot. That's a cheap shot.
It is.
If a cheap shot is cowardly, it's dishonorable. Yeah. It's all. I mean, like you said, they did that because he wanted to get that one touchdown. So he wouldn't go in the season with no touchdowns. Well, okay, that's fine. But if you're going to do that, do it on a manly way and don't just cheap shot somebody. Line up in a normal formation and get your touchdown the right way, and not pulling somebody into a submissive formation. We all are on the same concept. That when you go into the victory formation, you're going to do what you do. All right. And now you want to what? Now you want to do a team shot out of big. Come on, man. That's a BS. And you know it.
Yeah. No,
I did not like Jameis Winston after that. I got to be honest with you, because I just like, dude, that's the worst. There's no pride in that. If I'm a quarterback, there's no pride. There's no sportsmanship. There's no competitiveness to that.
Shannon Sharp said that's a loser mentality, actually. That's a loser mentality.
It really is. You're telling me the only way you can get a touchdown is go to a victory formation and pull a cheap? That's the only way you can get it?
Yeah.
Come on.
No, it's a bad look. And, yeah, I mean, him getting released would make all the sense in the world. Arthur Smith really should have had his walking papers either way anyway. But or Dennis Allen, sorry. Yeah, I mean, overall, just a bad look. Like, if you're going to do it, square up, let them know it's coming, and let them play defense. Besides, on the other end of it, if you're on that defense, you're also mad because you're not going 100%. So that's how dudes get hurt, right?
Exactly.
Because
that's exactly correct.
Over. So you're just going to kind of come up, touch pads, call it good. If they come firing off the ball and you're not ready for it, like, that's how dudes get hurt. Like, you can actually potentially end
I'm really surprised nobody did get hurt, like you said, because you're not expecting it.
Yeah. No, like, again, just a bad look overall, and solidly on Jameis for letting that happen. Like, if you're going to call the audible, call the audible.
Yeah, like I said, I would have fired him right there. He wasn't allowed back in the locker room. Get on. No. Go take a shower with the referees.
Yeah, and there were several Saints, and Bo, you know this. There were several Saints players that were, saying, "Yeah, why not get the touchdown? Why not do this? Why?" I mean, they were full support of Jameis, and I'm like,
"Well,
really? That's what you're in support of?"
So here's the thing with that, right? What they were saying was, would it have been disrespectful if they would have scored on the pick, right? And obviously not, right? Like, if he'd have ran at home, nobody would have thought twice about it. And I don't actually even have a problem with them scoring the touchdown. Like, if you want to score the touchdown, awesome. I leave that up on the defense. Like, you don't want them to score, stop them. Like,
Right.
I'm a firm believer of that. But don't do it from a position of we're not trying to score, we're letting the time roll out. Like, if you're going to do it. Be like, hey, we're coming at you. We want this touchdown. I have no problem with that. It's the way they did it that I think is cheap.
Oh, absolutely. It's the way they did it. And the thing about this, too, to me, is I don't understand why we don't give the Saints more crap. Because, honestly, they have a reputation of what? Bounty hits. Now you got a reputation of cheap shots at the end zone. I mean, why as a sports community, why are they not more into their locker room and what they're doing over there than they are everybody else that's out there? Well, God forbid, if the Cowboys did that, Philly would be the first guy, number one. Oh, yeah. Bo would probably be right behind him, number two. And then the rest of the NFL behind Bo. I mean, if the Cowboys did that, we'd be all over. But if the Saints do, it's a couple of headlines and then it's done and it's over. And we move on.
What's crazy about that is it's across multiple coaching regimes. So, like, had this been another thing with Sean Payton or something, we'd be like, okay, they kind of have a history of that. But now you are removed from that and you're still doing dumb stuff. So you don't love that for sure.
That just blows my mind. It really does.
They still have the opportunity to fire him, though. We're still pretty early on this off-season trek for these teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think if I'm New Orleans, I would fire him. I didn't think he was the right coach to begin with, and I think there's a lot of people on that team that think he was the right. A lot of people were surprised that he got that job over some of the other candidates.
Sure.
I don't know. Interesting.
Well, I don't know either. Like I said, I think that he should go. When you have that level of dissension in a professional game, that's where it comes down to. Like, you have dissension in your locker room. People just don't respect anything.
What do you think he's saying there?
I don't know. I caught a couple of consonants and two vowels, and I'm trying to replace the missing letters so I can figure it out.
Right?
If you give me about 8 seconds, I think I've almost got it. What's I? What is it? Is it I before E except after C?
And like 30 other exceptions. At least the English language follows no rules.
And was he speaking Klingon? I don't know, man. I'm over here trying to figure it out.
Can you hear me now? Now?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, that's a little bit better.
I know everybody else did. So, anyways, I was talking about how the dissension is too much. I think that's why. If for any other reason, that's enough. And anybody who was part of it.
Dude, you sound like Stephen Hawking now. Bo got that reference.
I do get what you're talking about, though. There is dissension within that locker room, and there should be, because they wildly underperformed for what that roster would suggest they should have been able to do, especially in a division that isn't great. Like, they should have been able to win that division easily. For them to miss the playoffs, in my mind, warrants Allen getting released and them moving on. Because, again, you can't have the roster they had. Not that it's like top tier, but it definitely is better than what it is they did. At that point, yeah, you got to move on. So I still expect him to, be watching next season on his couch.
Hey, what about Michael Thomas? Is it almost – I think it's got to be ready for the Saints to move on from Michael Thomas. Given all the injuries that he's had, I mean – I don't know how much longer he stays in the league. I mean, it just seems like he's there every other game and then he's out every other game. And if I'm a Patriots person, I'm thinking like, hey, we need to really kind of consider either A, reducing the salary he makes, or B, letting him go all the way around.
Yeah. I mean, that's always one of the hardest things with the NFL, right? Is you can see a guy that has amazing talent and then availability is the issue. I mean, that's Rashad Penny, right? The Eagles have him now. And,
absolutely.
But when he was with Seattle, like, absolutely a dynamic runner when he's on the field, but you have him for 3 games a year. So, does he actually help you? And obviously not. So, I was hoping going to the Eagles, maybe something would be different, because the Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And so I'm like, okay, maybe he's a dynamic runner, they can open some bigger holes for him. Obviously, he wasn't going to be the featured back, but when he gets his opportunities, maybe he could do something. And I mean, he didn't really do anything, but he stayed healthy because he didn't do anything.
I don't know what it is with the Eagles. I felt the same way with who was the last one that they had, who was a power back that came from Miami. And I loved him. I thought he was great here. And all he did was carry people. He would go through the middle of the line and just move people. For some reason or another, the Eagles do not like using those running backs. Yeah, and it was, it's such a shame because he was such a good back that every time he touched the ball, he'd get 6 yards and he would get hit in 2 and carry the guys 4 yards. And it was, and I thought Penny would be the same thing. Like even when they didn't use everybody.
Penny's more of a finesse back. Like he's one of those like pop off the first hit and break it out and run. He's not the bruiser that Seattle typically likes. The guy that'll come through the middle and just like steamroll some people. He's more of that Sean Alexander type of runner where he needs an opening. Like he'll make contact, but he needs an opening. So I thought Rashad Penny made sense for you guys because, to your point, you don't like the bruising. They don't use the bruising back, right? They want that finesse runner that'll pop around the outside and have some dynamic, large yardage run, which Penny is that type of runner. Unfortunately,
I thought he was a wide. I thought he was like a wide guy. Like I just thought he was a bigger back, and that's what you want. You want some type of power runners a little bit.
Well, he did have thunder. They don't have any thunder. They got a lot of, just like the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys got a lot of lightning, but when we let go of Ezekiel Elliott, we lost our thunder, and that's kind of, I think, the same way with what you guys are dealing with over in Philly. You got the lightning and DeAndre Swift and company, but you don't have the thunder.
Yeah, I mean,
he went to the Patriots, and all he did was boom in his pants.
Well, yeah, you're right. Well, and that's why Dallas was willing to let him go because we knew. I think Dallas knew that his best days were behind him.
Everybody knew.
Well, yeah, right. When he first came into the league, he was great, and then after the second year, man, he just went to the
got that payday. It was a wrap.
Yeah, once he started putting all the jewelry in his nose and his ears, and it was just, I don't know, it was craziness.
Yep,
and then he got fat. That was the biggest thing too. He let himself get out of conditioning. He wasn't as cut. He wasn't lifting the weights like he should. Probably wasn't following the diet he should. He got a little heavier, and it wasn't the strength and muscle heaviness. It was that fat heaviness.
Well, I mean, he donated his athletic ability in that Salvation Army bucket, and
he sure as hell did. Let me tell you.
But. Anyways, that sounds like a really good segue to go over the last 3 games. We went over the first 3 games of the playoffs yesterday. Let's go over the last 3 games, starting with the 4:30 Sunday game. The Green Bay Packers going into Dallas as a 7.5-point dog to upset Dallas. It's a 50.5 point over/under spread. Let's start with the loudmouth on the corner.
Absolutely. Let's go, Dallas.
I had a cat one time, and my mom named him Loudmouth. I guess it kind of is suiting that Pags calls me Loudmouth. It kind of has some family memories there. Getting towards the Cowboys and this Packers team. Obviously, Jordan Love has done a lot more than what I thought Jordan Love was going to do. 30 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at, and his interception, to touchdowns is proportionate. So, he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot for a guy, which is really, this is his true quote unquote rookie season, right? And he's done a lot, right? I mean, Lazard left, Cobb left. He was left with Watson and a couple other, guys that I really can't think of the names of. And so he's done a lot with very little in terms of quality, right? Watson, I'm not going to say Watson's not something, he is. But he really has done a lot, which is kind of interesting because he's done more with what he has there than what Aaron Rodgers did with the same damn receiving core minus a couple of experienced guys. So I thought he did a better job with this core than what Aaron Rodgers did with it. So I don't want to take that away from him. Jones and Dillon have done a decent job running the ball. I think Jones has been hurt a couple of times here or there. but they are going into Dallas. I know Pags will tell you, well, Jay, it's the regular season. And it is the regular season. But I do believe that our home record and the way that we have battled back and during some of the games that, quite honestly, I thought we may lose, and the Cowboys didn't. They actually still kept winning. Shows that the Cowboys do have that fight mentality. It shows that Dak Prescott, if you look at his interception ratio, and Pags will attest, his interceptions are way down from what they usually are. Now, does that mean that the Cowboys syndrome in the playoffs can't come back and bite him in the butt, much like Romo and all the penalties against San Francisco that, quite honestly killed us and the ability to beat the 49ers, because we all know how close that game came, and it came down to we just ran out of time. But it was close. It was a one-possession game. So things like that have always hurt the Cowboys in the playoffs. So I'm not going to say that stigma is not there. But I do believe that I told myself at the beginning of the year, I'm not going to get on the hype train, and I haven't. I've tried to stay relatively neutral with this.
Are you even a Cowboys fan?
No, I'm a Cowboys fan. Trust me. Bo, here's the thing. A man can only eat so much humble pie when he just realizes, I'm tired of eating humble pie. So I am a Cowboys fan. Everybody knows that. But I am a realistic, unbiased fan, and I can see where the Cowboys
real thing.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not like Pags over there who's completely delusional, thinking he's got a shot in hell, coming off 2 sub-500 losses. I mean, that's a delusional fan over there. That's okay. It is what it is. But I'm not going to go down that road. I believe in my team.
We're going to,
but I also believe in. I want to see us get past the second round before I fully get on we're going to go to the Super Bowl. I got to get past the second round. I got to get to the NFC Championship game. If I get to the NFC Championship game, okay, yes, I will come back to reality or come to a new reality. But I'm not going to get there until we got to make that. So, long story short, I do think we beat the Packers. But I think the next one comes when we play the Lions. Because as we all know, it was a controversial game against the Lions, right? So that's where I don't think the test is with Green Bay. I think we get a good warm-up test with Green Bay. But I think the real test comes in the next round when we go up against Detroit. And that, my friend, is where I think it lies as to whether or not we can really become America's great team again or not.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with door number 2 there. But I do think you can beat the Packers. I don't think you cover, though. For whatever reason, you guys have really been playing with your food coming down the stretch. Like in games that you should have been able to handle business, you haven't. Like you've won, but you didn't win the way you should have won. So I think this is where Green Bay is on house money, right? They snuck in. They have nothing to prove. They didn't think they were going to be in the playoffs anyway.
Right.
I think they come in and they give you a tough game. And I don't know that it's a sure thing that you see the Lions in the next round because, I mean, the Rams are playing good football and they got most of their guys healthy. So, that's
a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, so who knows who you're playing in the next round? But to your point exactly is I'm not going to believe anything about the Cowboys until they win a divisional game. I
want to say one thing though, bro, and before Pass goes, I just want to say one thing, and I want to get your opinion on this. The one thing that's different this year than last year, obviously we had Kellen Moore last year, so we all know what that was. But the one big thing I've noticed this year, and what I do like about what Mike McCarthy is doing, is he's using CeeDee Lamb in a number of different ways. He put him in the slot, he puts him at the wide receiver 1 stretch, and then I like the way that they're allowing Micah Parsons to line up where Micah Parsons wants to line up to give that defense multiple different looks, which is on the defense and offensive side, the Cowboys have not done in a very long time. And that's why I think there is a glimmer of hope that maybe we can get to the NFC game just because of the fact of the way they're putting CD at multiple different spots and the way that Micah Parsons is in multiple. So now it's kind of what I've said all along. To keep them off balance, you got to do off-balance things, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, and I honestly, I think you can make it to the championship game. I think the Niners would, box the ears for you, but but yeah, I mean, it's I mean, that would be a step forward anyway, just to make it to the championship game. But
yeah, it would.
Your path to get there is no joke because Green Bay is going to give you some work. Whether you face the Lions or LA, that's going to be a tough out. And
or
then
the Eagles.
Man, you don't get through the first round. We'll cover that. But
hey, and that's the thing. I feel like, if nothing else, I do feel like the Cowboys have the easier route this go around. And I think the Eagles have the hard. Now, last year, when we lost to the 49ers, I felt like, we've always had a little bit tougher route because we have played the better teams, whereas Philadelphia hasn't. But now I think it's reversed. Now Philadelphia's getting a little bit more tougher teams, and we're getting, I don't want to say the easiest path, but a little bit more manageable path.
Philly still had to beat the Niners, so it's not like they had they had to beat a beat-up Niners, but all the same, you beat the team that's in front of you.
Right.
This time around, I guess if we're moving on to the Eagles, man.
We're not yet.
Okay. Okay.
We're still in this game.
But
because I have a question. I have a question about Dak. So,
sure.
And it's a real question, actually, not something that I'm just going to bust balls about. Obviously, Dak has got 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions this year, and
Right.
I feel like that's directly related to the fact that he had really only 2 receivers to throw to. He threw to the tight end, Ferguson, and to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had 1,800 yards. Do you feel that he had less interceptions this year because I feel like he's got a very similar problem to what Jalen Hurts has. However, he's been in the league longer, so he knows how to deal with it a little bit better. That third read, get into the third read. I think his first read is CeeDee Lamb. His second one is Ferguson. If he's got to go to the third read, if he doesn't have a lot of time, he's going to make the mistake there, and that's where the mistake usually comes in at. Your offensive line was a little beat up last year in the grand scheme of things, and that's why I feel that he had more interceptions last year because he had still a big problem with the third read. Do you feel that because he didn't have to get to that third read is the reason why he didn't get as many interceptions?
And that's a good point. I feel like you're right. CD was the first read, then Fergie. But I think Fergie is the first read when Dak is feeling the pressure or if they're putting the ball. It just depends on the situation. But I do think at the beginning of the season, you're absolutely correct. It was 1 or 2 reads, the ball was out. Now, if you look towards the end of the season, the last at least 3 to 4 games, Cooks has become the third read, the third option. And Cooks has actually been making more and more plays. So I think Dak is learning to get that third option or that third read in there before he flings it, depending on the situation. So at the beginning, yes, 2 reads. Now, the last 3 or 4 games, he actually has been doing at least 3 because Cooks has actually gotten a couple of touchdowns where and a lot more play than what he has been.
Yeah, and he's been getting a little bit more time to throw over the last few weeks as well. So that helps with some of that progression. Because, I mean, to your point, earlier in the season, he could get through the first 2, but he was running out of time after he got there. So the one thing I give him a lot of credit for this time is rather than making a bad decision and chucking the ball into traffic, he's protecting the ball. He's throwing it away. He's doing things that he's supposed to do. And, it's good to see that progression in his game.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
On the opposite side, as funny as this sounds, Jordan Love plays better with Aaron Jones as the running back. And that offense is going to go as far as Jones can actually take them.
Sure.
When Jones is there, he's absolutely the better running back. You need to almost put that extra half a guy in the box for Jones, where you didn't need to do it for their other guy. So the fact that they have started to get healthy is part of the reason why the Packers were doing better on offense in general. And I feel that that's still going to take hold here. Plus, something about the mystique of Green Bay against Dallas, at what point does that play in your head a little bit? It's if the game's close. If the game's close in the third quarter, does it start to creep in and saying, "Oh my God, they're going to do this again"? Because all you got to do is start to have a little bit of doubt.
I think it's going to be the questionable incomplete pass. The questionable incomplete pass, I think, is where their minds melt.
Well, that's true. But I do think
I had Dean Blandino on my show where he said it was incomplete.
Yeah.
So
I do think that Dallas is doing a better job, though, in the middle with those defensive tackles than what they have in the past. And they've really made a lot of strides in not letting running backs just come up the middle. They've been forcing more around the edges. So I do think that Dallas is playing a better. And if you look at Dallas, they're one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, they really are. Even when Trey Diggs went down, Bland stepped up, like I said, and really made a strong case for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, they've got guys that are stepping up. Jordan Lewis is doing a good job stepping up and company. So this defense is a lot better than they were last year. So I'm not really as concerned so much with the run game of Aaron Jones as I really am more making sure that that we put pressure on Jordan Love. I just want to make sure we get that Lawrence is in there and that Michael Parsons is in there putting pressure on Jordan Love to get him into those mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, we will see. As of right now, I know where you stand there, Jay. It also sounds like you're choosing the Cowboys as well, but not to cover.
Yep.
I think that I kind of feel the same way. I kind of feel like that Green Bay is going to give him a game, but Dallas is going to be able to pull it out. However, if it does come down to a last possession, and Green Bay's got the ball, I would not be surprised if they upset Dallas, because that's when the mindset really gets in. When you got very little time left on the clock and you're up by 6 and they have the ball. That's going to be a scary thing for all Cowboys fans.
So in that scenario, McLovin can answer this better than anybody. Do the fans wait until they get home to burn the jerseys, or is it in the parking lot?
I really think it just depends on the fan. Well, we don't burn jerseys out here unless they're Eagles jerseys. I mean,
what are you talking about?
That's not true.
Dak jerseys burned. It's like a
no, I'm sure they do. I'm just being silly. I'm sure they do.
That's literally after every game they lose as a Dak jersey. I mean, no wonder he sells so many jerseys. But
I will tell you this: there have been less burnt jerseys this season than there have in the previous.
Sure, until if you guys get bumped out in the first round, you lose the wild card round. Man,
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I got to be honest with you. I would really be more disappointed this time than the other ones, only because of the fact I really felt like with all the improvements that they've made, only to do something stupid again. I mean, come on, man. At some point, you've got to turn the damn page,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think that there's very little to no chance that they come out and lay an egg, right?
No, I don't think the Cowboys are going to lay an egg. I really don't think they're going to lay an egg.
Yeah, I don't think they'll fall off that bad. But I think, like I said, they're going to play with their food. Like, this is going to be a much tougher game than it should be. It'll be one of those 2 to 3 point win kind of things. This is not going to be a blowout that a 7.5 point hook would make you think.
Right. And it just depends on how bad they really want it. I mean, in the last couple of times, with the Cowboys, I haven't felt that hunger. I haven't felt that desire to really want to, do more than what you're doing. It almost seems like they kind of have settled over the last decade or two for what they've done. Like they've rested on, okay, we played really good in the regular season. We didn't throw a goose egg in the regular season, so it is what it is. I want to see them actually want more than what they're getting. Right? Don't be just satisfied with the good regular season. Actually want to get. And that's why I think the Cowboys and teams of the 90s that are Jerry Jones and Switzer, they really had that hunger. They had that desire. They wanted to do it. And now it just, I think we've kind of tailed off on that a little bit.
I guess if they do get bounced in the first round, does McCarthy get fired at the end of the game?
You know what? I think, and I've read this before and I kind of agree with it. I feel like as long as if it's the 49ers that bounces out of the playoffs, I think McCarthy.
No. I mean Green Bay. If you lose,
yeah. Oh, God, if he loses to Green Bay, Jesus, man. I mean, that is his old team, right? So, and I almost got to think McCarthy. There's got to be a certain level of pride in him that he's going to come out and do everything he can to get that win.
It is. You would hope so.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they never fire McCarthy, and even after they lose to the Packers, that Jerry Jones gives him a vote of confidence, and the fat guy in a little coat gets to stay on the Cowboys for as long as he can, because I don't think he's a good coach.
I'll tell you, honestly, if we don't get to the NFC round, he should be fired. If we get to the NFC round and it's a close game, okay, bring McCarthy back. I'm okay with that.
That's fair.
But if we get beat by the Lions, or we get beat by the Packers, if I was Jones, I'm firing the guy, and let's see what else is out there. Because Jim Harbaugh's out there. There's a lot of good guys out there that could do something with this damn team.
I mean, you probably have your next guy in house in that scenario. You probably just elevate Dan Quinn.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's guys that are really damn good coordinators, but just not good head coaches. I think Josh McDaniels is an example of that as well. I'm perfectly fine with having him as a coordinator. I don't know if I want him as my head coach. I think he's a great coordinator.
I wouldn't put him in the same class as McDaniels, though.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that there's certain guys though that I feel like aren't going to get you over the hump. I don't think Dan Quinn is going to get us over that hump.
I mean,
I would have him as my coordinator than my head coach.
He did get to a Super Bowl. He had an epic meltdown, but he did get to a Super Bowl with the Falcons. So I mean,
not for nothing. On that epic meltdown, I understand that when you're up 28-3, that to lose the Super Bowl is a big deal. However, that offense was not on the field for like 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, between
that's because they stopped pressure on Brady on defense.
Yeah.
Well, the first two quarters of that game, they pressured the hell out of Brady, and that's why they did what they did. The second half, they came out, they relaxed on Brady, did some kind of prevent, whatever, and he just picked them apart, like we've seen Brady do 1,000 times.
So, but the offense was moving, and then they sat stagnant for 2 hours before they were able to get back on the field. So, because if you remember, that last touchdown was a pick six. So they had like literally, I think I want to say it was, and I'm saying 2 hours, but I think it was really like 48 minutes. They had not had an offensive play, and you go stagnant. You do go stagnant. So it's things.
And the score reflects it, because to go from 3 to 28 and beyond 28, you need probably that much time to pull that off.
Oh, for sure.
I mean. Oh, what a time to be alive.
So, anyways, moving on. Next game on Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Rams with Matt Stafford goes home to the Detroit Lions and play them in Ford Field, where Matt Stafford, we'll say, cut his teeth, with the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, got drafted by the Rams. There's a little bit of a backstory there. The Lions are a 3-point favorite. First time they're hosting a playoff game in God knows how long. Rams are 3 years now removed from the Super Bowl win, but have a little bit of spunk in their step right now. I'm going to let you guys, let's start with you, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is going to be an awesome game. The Rams are healthy, which is one of the biggest keys to this, right? But of the two quarterbacks, right, they're going back against their old teams. Stafford doesn't have the same animosity that Goff probably does, right? Stafford was loved in Detroit. Like it's not like Detroit fans were like, Stafford's the worst, right? He threw for 4,000 yards like every year. They just never gave him a defense. He moves on. He wins a ring. So he wins that trade anyway already. On the other side, this is the first time in 30 years Detroit can win a home playoff game, right? That's a huge incentive for this team. Goff has the opportunity to go and dunk on his old team that let him go after, he helped lead them into a Super Bowl. So this game will mean a lot more to the Lions. That being said, the Rams are playing exceptionally good football, especially down the stretch here, and all their guys are healthy. You got Kupp and Puka Nacua, so it's not like he doesn't have weapons to throw to. You got Aaron Donald there to disrupt things on the defensive side. So the Rams are going to make this interesting. I do think that the Lions, with as much more motivation as they will have, I think they win. it's probably going to be a 3-point game. That seems to be how the Lions are doing things. It's also why I'm not sure that if they do win, that they beat Dallas, because that's going to be such an emotional high. And whenever you have that in sports, you have a huge emotional win. It's hard to keep that energy the following week. So if they do get that emotional win, that home win, all of that, can they keep that same intensity when they see Dallas? Yeah, I don't know about that. But I do think that Detroit wins this one, but it's going to be a narrow victory. It's going to be 3 points or less.
Yeah, I was looking at Laporta for Detroit, which, they kind of are similar to the Cowboys in the way that, say Brown is your one, Laporta is kind of a security blanket, and then Jameis and everybody else after that. And it looks like he suffered that knee injury last week, and it says he has an outside shot to play in Sunday's wild card game against the Rams. And for me, that's a huge thing. That is a huge, 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 because I think if Laporta's not there, you lose that security blanket. On the flip side, though, Aiden Hutchinson is just playing well with this Detroit defense. Montgomery is still pushing the ball pretty hard, too, up the middle with Gibbs. And the one thing I like about Gibbs is he could be the security blanket. If Laporta can't play, I think Gibbs becomes a security blanket because he catches the ball really well out of the backfield, and that could be, his number 2 read in that level. So, yeah, you're right. I think Goff has a little bit more of a chip because Goff still has something to play for him. I mean, Stafford's already got his Super Bowl. Goff is still trying to get a damn Super Bowl against a team that traded him away. So, there's got to be a little bit more of a chip on that side. I think the receivers, that edge still goes with Cooper Kupp and Nakua. I think it's got to go there. But I do think the defense and the running game, in my opinion, still kind of goes with Detroit, even though Williams is playing well at the running back spot for the Rams. Coaching, McVay's a damn good coach. Dan Campbell has really ignited this team from basically oblivion to now, deep in the playoffs, or at least taken seriously in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things to consider there, and especially, after I watched that Cowboys game, I saw just how good this Detroit team really is. And so for those reasons, I am going to take Detroit in this over the Rams. I think it'll be Dallas and Detroit 2.0. In the divisional side of it, or whatever side it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of agree here. I still think, I think that's going to be a very loud spot. I think that if you're a Rams fan or a Rams player, you're not going to be able to hear, so they better be practicing the silent count as best as possible. I think here that this is going to be a good game, but I don't think it's going to be as close. I think that that the Lions are going to take it to the Rams and just, and win here by like 10 points. It may get a little closer, like it may get within 7 or something like that. But I think that the Rams are just going to, go into this, go into Detroit and not be able to do the things that they want to do. And I feel like that the Lions, this is going to be, there's going to be great rejoicing in Detroit, because they have won a playoff game. And, when the Cowboys lose to the Packers, then they're going to have a second home playoff game against the Eagles. And that's when they'll realize that they just can't play against the Big Bird.
I'll let it happen. You know why? Because it's great. It's great in retrospect. When the retrospect comes around, you don't think I'm going to be there? But I'm going to be there so hardcore. It's going to be ridiculous.
There's a lot to unpack there.
But I think it's St. Brown is obviously the guy that's going to be the biggest, telltale there, like in terms of how they're going to be able to move the ball and whatever. Like I said, their running game is good. It's like Gibbs. I guess Montgomery is not playing. Is Montgomery not going to play?
He's not listed on the injury report, so I don't know why he wouldn't play.
Yeah, it's funny that they have Gibbs as their main running back here on the stat sheet, but I thought...
Yeah, he's always in that number 1 spot. Really, it's Montgomery that gets the touches, and then Gibbs kind of splits them.
Yeah.
You almost think that Montgomery, they'd have him listed on the depth chart at 1 and Gibbs at 2, but... It's weird. It's
And
weird.
they both almost had 1,000 yards. I mean, Montgomery did have 1,000 yards, and Gibbs had 945 yards. So it's like their running game is what's gets this engine moving, and then it actually leads to the passing game, and that's why St. Brown has been so good for me in fantasy football this year that I got to win my fantasy football championship. I'm going to keep announcing that as often as I can because really, I said there's a first time for everything, and this year I get to win. Yeah, I get to win the cup that I purchased 20 years ago as this league and formed this league. So, I'm going to keep on doing that. I mean, not that anything else, though, when I think about this on the opposite side, I mean, the Rams do have a good running game, and they're going to need to. My thought is that they're going to need to keep Detroit's defense on the field. If they're going to win this game, they absolutely have to keep the defense on the field. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously, is Kupp going to play?
He's supposed to, yeah. He's supposed to be available. So they're going to have tandem, which that'll be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, Williams is a good back, but I don't think he's that great. I don't think that it's. I mean, he's been the one that's got the bulk of the carries for the most part. But when you look at these two offenses, the Lions can run the ball, and the Lions can score points, where the Rams have struggled in some of those regards. So, and the one thing that the Rams do have is Aaron Donald, and at any moment he can disrupt a game big enough. And I think that you're going to see Hutchinson learn a lot in this game watching Donald play. I think that that's going to be something that you're going to be able to see. Really,
I mean,
it's funny that Joe mentioned that before I said it, or right before I said it, or right as I said it. So,
oh yeah. No, I mean,
I don't see any injury designator on Cooper Kupp at all, so I would imagine he would be playing.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting all the way around. It's going to be a tough game here, but I think that Detroit wins it. And I said, like I said, I think it's going to be a 10-point win. So I actually like Detroit with a little bit of the over here. What was the over under in this game? 51.5. So I like the over with this.
Yeah, I could see the over. Both these offenses can score.
Yeah. And I think going backwards a little bit, that over under for the Packers game, the Cowboys, is 50.5. I think for the Cowboys want that to be an under. They really want that to be an under. Yeah, I think that if that goes over, the Packers have a much better chance.
Yeah, because it means Dallas's defense didn't show up. So, for Dallas to win, it has to be the under.
So, and the same thing, like I said, the Rams, I think that goes over, but I think the Lions will score more points than the Rams. I just don't think that the Rams have enough. Like, if you lock in Nakua, and like I said, the Lions do have the cornerbacks and safeties that can do that and actually, put ties to them. I think it's going to be harder for Stafford to get the ball in there, and it could create some turnovers, and that could, that's what's going to lead to the Lions' victory.
Well, and like you were saying before, Hutchinson is going to be a huge piece of that because, for a good portion of the season, he was leading the league in quarterback pressures. So, I mean, he knows how to get home. That slowed down towards the end of the season, but I mean, they're going to be pretty amped for this game. So I would expect him to be able to, disrupt some plays there.
Yeah, that's the big Mike Mamula statistic. Quarterback hurries, because you can't get there. Let's hurry it up. That was definitely the Mike Mamula stat because he used to get
love that
close.
stat. I prefer that stat to sacks because the sack means you got home. Doesn't mean you're pressuring them every time. I'd rather see 40 quarterback pressures than 10 sacks, and it means you never got home after that.
All right. So that being said, we are at the top of the hour. Before we get on to our third game, which I know everybody's excited to listen to what I've got to say about it, We're going to take a quick commercial break. So we will be back here in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for in a couple of minutes, and we'll be back with Coast to Coast. I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate. All right, I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any?
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And welcome back to our second hour of Coast to Coast with Pags, Bo, and McLovin. Last game on the playoff docket. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to Tampa Bay for Monday night playoff extravaganza, where the Eagles are a 3-point favorite and the over-under being 43.5. I mean, I can go ahead and start.
Yeah.
I think this, for real, in every real sense, is going to be a little bit of a get-right game. You know, obviously, the last 6 weeks show that there has been some, troubles in Mudville, and that there has been some frustration that may have come out and some thoughts that have come out. And I feel that this last week, when they went up to New York, and for the most part, I knew that they were going to rest players, but they were rebonding as a team. And they didn't really care about that game. I think that the game was less important than the rebonding. And the things that have come out this week from all bunch of different veterans saying, hey, listen, we didn't quit. We understand that what things look like. But, our locker room is solid, and we're going to come out and we're going to play the way that we know how to play. And ultimately, whatever you think is happening isn't really happening. And we're going to show you exactly what we mean by that. We're in the playoffs now. We've been here before. We've won a ring. A lot of us still have won a ring and still on this team. And we're there last year. We know what it takes to win, and we're going to win. And I got to stand by that. I know that I'm a little bit of a homer, obviously, because I love this team and such like that. And I'm always going to take the good narrative. However, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, that this is okay, that they are okay, that things are a little askew and they're doing things that are not necessarily good football in regular season games. But now we're in the playoffs, and I think they're going to revert back to what really works. You're going to see them run the ball a hell of a lot more. You're going to see them do it the time of possession, and that you're going to see them just come right out and win this game. I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I know Mike Evans is a stud, but I just don't see him being enough. Their running game isn't enough to be able to, get through us. We were down there earlier in the season. We dismantled them pretty handily, and I kind of expect that we're going to do it again. I actually have this score 31-10.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a 31-10 game really to solidify you guys and get that momentum and that confidence in who you are back up, right? I mean, it really does take one of those kind of games. And they're like, hey, you know what? I don't know what's going on in the last two games when we stuck up the joint, but we definitely are on the right path. Let's go out there and play our game and do what we know we can do. Because they have done it. I mean, they did at the beginning of the season. It's just for whatever reason. I know, Pags, you don't think that locker room is dismantled, but I still think there's a slight crack that is being mended. And I think this is the kind of game that could fully solidify that locker room and get them back fully 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like so even in the losses, minus the last game, the Eagles have been able to move the ball. Like against San Francisco, they were able to move the ball, and then they didn't score touchdowns on those first two drives, and then they just ran out of gas. You could just tell that they were tired. Against Dallas, we were able to move the ball up and down the field, but then they would put the ball on the carpet. And if you're going to turn the ball over, you're not going to win. And that's happened. What was there? Four turnovers in that game against Dallas,
something like that.
Yeah, I believe it was four or five.
But they were moving. They were moving the ball. Like we would get down the field. We'd drive 60 yards and then fumble it, and then drive 70 yards and then fumble it or throw a little interception. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of movement, but again, no points to show for it. And in fact, in other cases, they were coming back, and then the defense being on the field for so long just started to get worn down. It was just like, okay, you had, 6 straight drives that Dallas scored points on, or maybe just touchdowns. There was no points. The Arizona Cardinals didn't punt in the game.
Yeah.
That was just because the defense has been tired. They have been exhausted and playing over and over again. I feel that the NFL did us a little bit of a favor by doing this Monday Night Football, giving us that extra day of rest. Again, if the NFL is scripted, they want the Eagles to be in the playoffs because, when you look at Tampa Bay as a market and Philadelphia as a market, Philadelphia is a lot more money on the market. You know what I mean? In terms of the way that they travel, the way that they watch the game is going to be a lot more.
Well, I think if it's truly scripted, though, they want Dallas in there because of the fan base. If it's truly scripted, I don't think it's scripted. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, oh God, the storylines that would run off of Dallas getting back into the Super Bowl. Could you imagine the money that would be generated? It'd be ridiculous.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, it would.
Nobody wants Dallas in the Super Bowl.
We got the biggest fan base in all of football. How would it not be?
Nah, it's not true, actually.
You guys, okay, show me the stats on that one.
But realistically, I mean, I feel that, and you got to do this one game at a time because you can't look ahead. Obviously, we can't say, "Hey, listen, well, let's get ready for San Francisco. That this game is going to be whatever," or even Dallas, because you never know. Because we're going to know who we're going to play by the time we get ready for this game, because it's going to be all set in stone already. That whoever wins this game is going to play that team. So ultimately, I kind of feel that this is really the get right game. And once you get that get right game, all of a sudden, the whole narrative of the season changes. It's like if they come out and win the game like I expect them to, 31-10, all of a sudden the media is going, uh-oh, are the Eagles the team to watch now? Are they the black horse that is possible to go to the Super Bowl? That they redon their underdog hats and say, we're going after it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way that changes, because whether you lose or you win, like, narrowly, then the narrative is, if you lose, obviously it doesn't matter. Season's over. But if you win and it's close, then all of a sudden it's like, man, they can barely sneak by the South, right? So, I mean, for it to change the narrative in the media, like, you have to win handily for sure.
Right.
Honestly, you kind of have to have it a get right game anyway, right? Because you're not going to feel a certain way in the locker room if you're like, man, we barely snuck by the Bucks, right? Because you're going to face some real teams after that. So not to discount what the Bucks have done. I mean, obviously, they played well down the stretch. They earned their way in. So I'm not saying that, but they're not the same caliber team as what the Eagles should be, or the Cowboys, or the Niners, or even the Lions, right? Like, they're real teams. So it's but the problem is as bad as they've played, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And Baker has played decent, and I am not a Baker fan. I am generally if there's a game and I'm playing any sort of pick and Baker's in it, I'm picking against him. But, so I'm not generally one to be like, hey, Baker can pull this out. But in this game, as bad as the Eagles have been down the stretch, it's a game the Bucks could surprise them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's right now, I think, the sexy pick of the national media,
Sure.
and that's where I kind of feel that's how the veterans, like I said, the veterans really have to come to play this game. You need Brandon Graham to go nuts. You need Fletcher Cox to go nuts. You need them to be able to do the things that they do best and disrupt on that offensive line to show Jordan Davis and oh my God, sometimes these names go away. But to show the young guys that these Georgia Bulldogs exactly how it's done. Hassan Reddick's got to have a big day. You know what I mean? And he had a big day the last time we went up against him. So it's going to be a real big. I think it's, and not only that, but it gets everybody back on the same page.
I mean, not for nothing though. The last time you saw him was back when they were playing much better football, though. So.
I agree. I mean, that was the third game of the season. It was September 25th, on, was it Monday Night Football? I think it was Monday Night Football the last time we played them. So this will be the second Monday night game that we have against them.
That's interesting.
Hey, Bo, you know what's interesting? Let me tell you what's interesting. A recent survey done back on September 5th of 2022 has, according to this survey, the Dallas Cowboys are the most popular team amongst all professional sports leagues in the United States, NFL, NBA, MLB, etc., with 8.5 million global fan people. Let that sink in for a minute. 8.5 million. We're the most popular. That's why we're America's team. God loves us.
You know what? They don't. That's not true, because I think about, no, they got 8.5 million people following them and stuff like that.
Sure.
But
globally,
who's got like
globally? That means you're outside of Pennsylvania.
That's what I'm talking. Where it comes with globally, because you have like 8.5 million people that follow the Dallas Cowboys, but you look up how many people follow Real Madrid.
For
Hold on. Listen, we're talking about U.S. I'm not saying that we're
tell me it's globally. Don't tell me it's globally.
No. No. See, Pags, you didn't listen. I said in the U.S. In the U.S., Pags. I never said in
globally.
I never said soccer. I said we had 8.5 million fans globally, but I'm saying here in the United States, Pags. United States, we're the most popular team. I know that's a hard pill to swallow over there. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you got to swallow it, Pags. Take some of that Vaseline; it'll go down easier.
Oh man,
get some icy hot.
That's right. That way it burns on the way down.
But anyways, it'll be interesting to see if everybody does hold serve. Because if everybody does, then we obviously would get San Francisco on 3 weeks rest. But ultimately, I don't know. I think that there will be one upset this weekend.
And truthfully, Pags, and this is all seriousness, I do really want you guys to get to the NFC showdown, because honestly, you would be a much better. Number one, it would be a better game right? Because the two rivalries, it'd be a better game. But number two, I mean, it would be easier for I really don't want. I don't think too many people want to play San Francisco. So I'd rather you play San Francisco, get that win there, and then us go up against you. I like my chances better with that scenario than with San Francisco. Just because San Francisco is such a complete team, it's crazy.
Well, we will see. Like I said, it's possible that if the Rams are the ones that upset everybody, I wouldn't be surprised that the Rams could upset San Francisco because again, that's where the divisional game should be. Us against against the Cowboys. The Rams against the 49ers. That makes for very lots. Third game in a season. The third game in a season becomes a really big deal. You know what I mean? And the fact that we'd be playing in Dallas would definitely help Dallas out because I think if it was in Philly, it'd be a whole different world. But
I mean, think about it. And I think you know this. We lost you guys by one possession. We lost you guys by one possession. And that Dak, right there in that one touchdown, it got called back because his foot was like 2 inches out of bounds. I mean, that's how close it was. That game was so close that it took 1/2 of a foot in the out of bounds to separate that win from a loss. So I'm okay going to Philadelphia and playing you guys. I just have one request. If it is Dallas versus Philadelphia in the NFC game, I would request that Bo be the moderator because it would be hell if you were.
Oh, man, I'm bringing popcorn. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and like I said, I'll be down at Dallas. If it goes to Dallas, I'll be there for the game.
Hey, if it goes to Dallas, I'll actually drive up from Huntsville. I'll meet you up there. We'll do a little post game before you go in there because let's be honest, I'm too cheap, man. Well, not cheap, but them tickets are expensive.
You're in Huntsville, Alabama?
No, Huntsville, Texas.
I was gonna say. And Huntsville, Alabama. I've been to Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah, you're driving down the road that one day, and you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you see this monster rocket on the side of the road. It scares the hell out of you. You know what I mean?
I'm probably about 3 hours. I'm about a 3-hour drive from Dallas. So if that comes up, hey, we'll do a little tailgate sesh before the game if that works out that direction.
All right, yeah, that'll be a good time because, like I said, I was down there for this past game, and I like I said, I still felt that they were tired. It was they were moving the ball. They started to put the ball on the carpet, and that's you can't do that. You can't turn the ball over against a division foe, specifically 4 times. Because even at that point, I thought that they were still in it until they weren't. I mean, once they had that third turnover, and then you guys scored on that touchdown, I was like, yeah, this game's over now. There's not much more that we're going to be able to do to be able to make it all right. So
now, I mean,
we will see.
My biggest concern is the defense overall because it went from being a dominant defense to being a defense presented by Wish. Like it was just it just wasn't quite the same. People were able to move the ball pretty freely through it, and it
the Timu version of the defense.
100%.
Like Wish. I was like, it took me a second. I'm like, Wish. Oh, Timu. That's what you're talking about. So, but brought to you by Timu. You get a special gift with the purchase of every Eagles defense. I understand. I get it. It's I don't know that it's the case. I think that they get back on stride here, and we do what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, and so if you look at the comment down here, pray the Green Bay smokes Dallas. So that would be hilarious because I would be here for that chaos, right? Like if Green Bay somehow just like blows them out, like I don't know how they do that because they're not set up to do that. But if somehow that were to come through, the absolute chaos that would feed from that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that Monday show, live from Tampa Bay, would be something. That would absolutely be something. So, I bet you'd call it sick that day.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
call
Right
it
now,
sick.
that one particular guy, we are so in his head rent free. That's how much he wants us to lose. We are so ingrained. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
You know,
I
that's-
want
What is that about Philadelphia?
That's
But you
Bo's
say
mom,
Dallas
by the way.
one time.
That's Bo's
One time.
mom, by the way.
that is my mom hating on you there.
Is that your mom? How do I say hello?
She's not sorry either. Not sorry, McLovin.
Not sorry, McLovin. You know what, Miss Freebird? It's okay. I know your son, and it is a pleasure to meet you. That you raised such a fine young man that doesn't know how to fix his car, even though he's a master mechanic. He must be so proud.
Oh, man.
So anyways, changing gears, shifting gears. Before we start talking about what I think we're going to probably spend the rest of the time, talking about. There we go. That's perfect. That's the perfect way to segue into something else. She is a lifelong Dallas hater. We all say Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. Yes, we do. So. But anyways, before we get talking on what our last topic is, which I think is going to take up the rest of our time today, I have 2 picks for you for the NBA. So McLovin, get your pad out so that you can make some money. I have the Clippers today, -10.5. They're going up against the Raptors, and the Boston Celtics are going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I tell you, I'm a little nervous about this line at 9.5, but it fits into my system, so I'm going to go with it. So the Clippers -10.5 and Boston -9.5. As of right now, I am still 19-9 for this season, which is 68%, which means you made some money. So definitely,
I'm going to hold you to that one.
I mean, the way those two sound, it sounds like you're going to be 20-10.
Yeah, I'm a 9.5 point spread when you're playing the number 1 team in the West is a little nervous. However, when the Sixers played the Timberwolves, we beat them by, I think it was like 18-22. So that's why. Hey, I got to go with what I got to go with. I said this is my system. I stick with the system. So win or lose, the system's the system. It's not me. That being said, moving on. Major League Baseball. We're going to talk a little bit of hot stove on Major League Baseball because there was another Japanese pitcher that was signed by the Cubs. And of course, they did not have to do the ridiculous amount of money. It wound up as total being like an $80 million deal for Shota Imanga, whatever it is. He's from.
I sound like I sound when I try to pronounce those names.
Yeah, exactly. He's from the Yokohama Bay Stars.
I like that you immediately went Office Space. Naga, not going to work here anymore anyway.
So, but he's actually, it looks like he's got all this stuff. But what we really wanted to talk about a little bit is in LA. I actually did a podcast right before this one with a Dodgers fan, and I asked him a quick question about how he feels about the fact that they spent $1.5 billion on 3 players, 2 of which you're not going to know if they, one that's never pitched in Major League Baseball, one that may never pitch again in Major League Baseball. And after all is said and done, you don't even know if he's going to be able to have the same bat that he did once he get back from, once he gets back from injury.
Right, and he doesn't play another position, right? So
it's a lovely tail you have there, McLovin.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
As the dog is like
swipe.
I read it at the zoo in this house. No, what's interesting to me is, so he's going through Tommy John. He's going to be off a year. He still gets paid a nice little handsome paycheck for it. So the Dodgers are going to miss out on a year on him. But it's so backloaded that even though they're going to have to pay him $20 million or whatever, that 600 and whatever million is backloaded is really helping. It's really kind of smart on the Dodgers if you're going to pay that way, or it could be dumb depending on Shohei Ohtani's health and how it goes forward. But the Yamamoto deal or Yamamata deal was 12 years at 325, but there are so many opt-outs in that contract. It's ridiculous. It's a 12-year deal, but Yamamoto has a lot of different ways that he can opt out if he wants to, literally. And if you look at the way that contract is structured, it's only like 3-year, 4-year, 10 mil, 20 mil. It's not really until years 5 or 6 that contract jumps up to like 29 million. Well, that's damn near halfway through the Ohtani deal. So I will give the Dodgers credit for the way they structured the deal, and I will give Yamamoto credit for the fact that he has so many opt-outs. It's ridiculous. And then the fact that he gets what? I think he gets a road suite in every hotel on the road, so he gets his own suite. He gets, I think, 5 or 10 round-trip tickets throughout the year. I mean, he's got all these he got his own personal trainer. He's got his own physical therapist, and then there's like another guy that I think the nutritionist or whatever.
Interpreter.
He's got all the perks, right?
Got the interpreter with them too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got the full. But here's the deal. Now, I will say this is where I think the Dodgers are kind of stupid. You're giving $325 million to a guy that's never pitched one damn pitch in MLB.
Yeah,
he's getting paid more money than Cy Young winners that are in the league currently. Garrett Cole, the latest one. He's getting paid more money than that guy, and he's never thrown a damn pitch. Now, if I'm Garrett Cole, maybe I'm a little disrespected.
Sure.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is either going to be great on them, or it's going to look like the biggest horse's ass on them.
Well, I love the fact that, so this is definitely a Dodgers thing to do. My expectation is with the Dodgers is that, okay, if this guy winds up being a bust, why would he ever opt out? He doesn't need to opt out because it's only him opting out. The Dodgers don't have any opt-outs in this. Yep. So he can opt out and go for more money.
Oh, yeah.
But, say, okay, you're getting the bulk of this year 4 through 10, I think is what it is. But if you want to opt out in year 3 and try to go for more, you can.
Yeah, well, so his is a 12-year contract, but which is even crazier. But to your point, he's the one that controls the opt-outs. The team doesn't. So this is the way these are structured, right? Like Ohtani's, he doesn't actually start making money off of his until year 5. Up until that point, it's $2 million a year, right? For a guy,
yeah, I mean it's like slow. They're not paying him anything until year 5 or 6, and that's really when it becomes.
They're not really paying him. They're not really paying him until year 10. So,
but this is what I think is interesting, though, Tags. Tags, this is what I think is interesting. So, according to his contract, he basically he's got elbow and Tommy John clauses in there, where it says that if he's on the injured list for right elbow injury for 134 consecutive service days. From 2024 to 2029, he would have the right to opt out after the 2031 and 33 World Series, according to the terms of the deal by the Associated Press. That's crazy.
Opt out.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't opt out if he can't play. He's going to take that money. But the biggest thing is where I was going with that is a lot of these contracts don't really ramp up until year 5 for each of these. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, this is where this is dumb is if it doesn't work, because they're going to have to win a ring if they're going to do it in the next few years, because then the financial layout's going to make it so that they don't have players around them, right? So you're going to have to really lean in on, Ohtani showing out, Mookie Betts showing out, Yamamoto showing out. Like they're going to have to come in and play at a high level while they're still in the cheaper part of their contract to fill some guys around them to make this make sense. Because in year 5 and beyond, this is going to be a team that has older guys that probably aren't really playing up to their contracts anymore. And 2, financially, you're going to have a hard time putting stars around them. Right. So that's basically, if they don't win right away, that second 5 years, they're in a really rough spot as far as being competitive.
Right. And that's the thing too, like his deal is 325. But in actuality, that deal is 375 because they still got to give 50 million to the team that he was playing with in Japan. So they get 50 million for the Dodgers as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I think you put a lot of money, a lot of time into somebody that's not proven. And to me, that's kind of crazy.
Well, and on the other side, you're putting a double that money in a guy that may never pitch again, and who knows if he can evolve his game to not just be the DH. Right?
I will say though, there are a lot of cases where, having gone through Tommy John, you do tend to pitch better. I mean, now I'm not saying he could be the anomaly, but if you look at Verlander came off Tommy John and won the Cy Young, and a lot of times
he went through one, not two.
It's a second.
One.
No.
This is his second one.
Yeah. I mean, damn. You're right. No, you're right. I mean, he may never pitch again, and you may just be getting a one-way guy, but yet you're paying him two ways.
Well, and that's if he can bat the same after taking that much time off.
Well,
so
you
may be getting a name that puts fans in the stands for a season, and that's it.
I mean, we were all laughing at the Mets for what they did last year in terms of payroll, but Jesus, if this goes south on them, this is going to be like exponentially. This is going to make the Mets look like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me.
So here's the one thing that I do know about the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers aren't dumb. They already made about a third of that money already on sales for his jersey.
Sure.
You know, that everybody in Japan has just become a Dodgers fan.
Of course.
You know, so
well, that's very well true.
You know, so ultimately, I think that's the first thing. So you're gonna see Dodgers sales go, your jersey sales go through the roof because everybody's going to be there, and ultimately, even though like this year and then next year, for 2 years, you're going to have Japanese, writers and everybody from Japan that comes over there. You're going to have. I mean, their stadium is usually full all the time, anyways.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be
exponentially.
It's going to be a lot of the Japanese people that were going to maybe go down to the shore or go down to the beach in Japan now may decide to go to LA.
True.
Watch a game.
And God forbid, if it actually does work out in their favor and things do work out, could you imagine a 1-2-3 punch of Ohtani, Freeman, and Mookie Betts? I mean, damn.
No, that'd be amazing.
That's a hell of a punch.
No, if he comes back top tier, yeah, fantastic.
But I don't think he is.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying if.
And that is really the downside of being a two-way guy, though. Your body goes through so damn much. That's the downside of it. Everybody looks at a two-way player like, oh, my God, it's the greatest thing since ever. But you don't understand how much it gets put on the body from pitching and hitting, and throwing. I mean, there's a lot, and that's a lot to put on a person.
No. Let's be for real. Him hitting has nothing to do with him pitching.
No, but I'm saying though, it's still as a pitcher though, not getting the rest every day. You're still playing. Your body's still being used. Your muscles are still being used. I mean, things are still happening.
Well, I mean, he pitched really well this year, even leading up to it. He probably was in line to make a Cy Young. Like he might have been the first one, had he not gotten hurt, to win a Cy Young and an MVP for a team that didn't even get close. They didn't even sniff the playoffs.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
No, he definitely could have won a Cy Young and a Silver Slugger award, and I mean, he could have swept the awards.
I'll tell you what, though, those are the worst words in the world. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. They don't mean a damn thing.
Absolutely. Right. But at least in this scenario, it was an injury-related thing instead of just like at the end he disappeared.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point.
So, assuming, he got the Tommy John surgery fairly early. So obviously he would be coming back around, figuring it's 9-10 months, not pitching this year, but maybe getting some plate appearances that he could be back there as early as I'm going to say August 15th
Right.
to start taking plate appearances.
They could potentially throw him in as a 1-inning relief just to
Not
see.
able to do it. Not able to do it. And the reason why they can't do it like
that early, I was thinking towards the end.
Yeah, they can't have him because you would think maybe he'd be better off as a closer. Can't have him close if you're going to have him bat.
Oh, no. That's not what I mean. I mean, throw him in for a game here and there where he's not potentially batting, right? Or if it's late in a game where you want a closer, he's batted, because then you'd have to have him not bat anymore, right? But if it was at the end of the game, have him in there for, to close out an inning just to see what he has.
No, the problem isn't him closing the game. You could still have him bat. That's not the issue, because if he's a DH, he's going to be the DH. You could have him play a position as the DH.
That's true.
The problem becomes, or maybe that isn't. Maybe you can't do that. I don't know, because does that become the position player actually going to the mound as a pitcher? You know what I mean? Because they made a rule about that.
Yeah.
So they don't want position players going to the mound unless you're down by 10 runs or something like that. So it's got to be the specific scenario. Ultimately, he may fall into that category. He can only be a starter. That's really what it comes down to. And realistically, if I was the Dodgers, once he does come back for injury, I put him on a low pitch count. I put him at like an 80 pitch count. Until he's ready to go, and then have him pitch a certain amount of innings. I wouldn't do the Stroudsburg technique. When Washington did the Stroudsburg thing, where he's only going to pitch 126 innings. That it was ridiculous.
She wants to give her 2 cents worth, and I keep telling her she can't do it. I like what you're saying, though. I got to tell you, with as much money as they are putting into this man, I don't know if I want him to go to 100 pitches. I'd rather, err on the side of caution and just get 80 out of him and then go to the bullpen. I think I put him on a pitch count just because he is playing literally every day that they play at the DH spot. So I think I would keep him at an 80, maybe 90 would be my max, but I'm not going beyond 90 because I want to keep him fresh. I want to keep his body fresh.
Yeah, but you better have the bat. You better have the bullpen that can be able to handle that. It's
not my fault they put that damn much money, $1 billion in 2 guys. Maybe they should have thought about that shit.
Well, that's exactly the.
Well, they bring in Glass now too, though. Now they brought in Glass now, so they do have another starting guy that they could probably eat up some innings. And I'm pretty sure they're going to address that relief. They're going to have to address the relief situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what are they going to do with Kershaw? I mean, as good as Kershaw is, at what point do you move on from him? I mean, no, he's great, but he's still very injury prone. And then they got Urias, but I think Urias, correct me if I'm wrong, I think his legal issues got dropped down or downgraded to where now he should be able to come back and play.
Who?
Urias, however Urias, I think is how you spell his name. I read where he was in legal issues last year. That's why he couldn't pitch. But I think his legal issues got dismissed. So they should be another arm that they get back.
So even after all of this, even after all of the moves that they made and things that they've done, and do you still think, I still believe that the Dodgers are first round exit?
Yeah. No, I'm
a lot of things could happen with that team.
Maybe
second
round.
A lot of things could happen with the team. I think with the Dodgers, it just comes down to injuries, right? Can they avoid the injury bug? If they can avoid the injury bug to Kershaw, if they can keep Urias from doing anything stupid, keep and if Yamamoto somehow pans out to be the guy that they are invested in, then I think they're going to be okay. It really just comes down to, can they avoid the injuries, and will Yamamoto, play up to the billing for which they paid for? because you're not going to get Ohtani. So he's out of the equation right now. You got to look what you have. And what they have is, I mean, decent pitching. It's not the best, I don't think, in the league right now, but it's decent pitching that they have. But the problem is, can that decent pitching stay healthy?
So let me give you another name that in Dodgers lore. You tell me who was considered the bigger signing now, this Yamamoto guy or Fernando Valenzuela. They equal? You think that would be equal?
You talking about Yamamoto compared to Fernando?
Yes, in terms of the big portion of the signing. Yeah, I didn't think so. Frankie's saying that. Yeah, I didn't think Kershaw was on the roster anymore. I thought that he was, that he doesn't have a contract right now.
Okay. Well, then that's okay. Well, that eliminates that right there. I mean, Fernando Valenzuela, that's a good pitcher, man. Jesus.
I mean, but that was so. I mean, and he was a monster signing for them when that occurred. Like that was. They're like, okay.
Well, that really only pans out, or you can only make that guess if Yamamoto pans out. If Yamamoto doesn't even pan out, then obviously, you're going to know right off the bat. It really just brings out what Yamamoto brings to the table because we don't know. So you can't even really answer that until you see him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an unknown. I mean, they paid for that, so they better hope they better hope it's every bit of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know. We haven't seen an MLB pitch yet. So, I mean,
I haven't even seen him pitch over there. You know what I mean? So I have no idea.
Sure. No, but I mean, at the end of the day, you give up $325 million. They better hope he's every bit of that.
So what do we know? He weighs 190 pounds. He's Japanese. And in the Japanese baseball system, he's got a 1.86 ERA. Okay, that's all you really know. And they really are putting all that money based on the ERA that he has over there. Okay. Well, I mean, it may work over there, but it doesn't mean it's going to I mean, look at you, Darvish. I don't know what it is, man. We put so much money in these Japanese guys, but sometimes they pan out and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's like anything else.
I mean, look at Matsuzaka. I mean, okay, guy, but he's not the Godzilla that he was over there.
Sure.
Much better pitching over here, though. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But sometimes they're like Ichiro, and it absolutely does work, right? Ichiro was every bit the hitter he was over there.
Yeah, that's why I think this is a 50-50. It's 50-50, right? I mean, you're betting on it, you're hoping on it, but you're not going to know until he throws that first pitch.
That's what we're talking about, Frankie, that he was not anywhere near that he was in Japan. I mean, he did still have the power. He couldn't catch up to the 100-mile-per-hour fastball. That was the difference. I mean, that they're pitching somewhere over there. I think that the average pitch is somewhere around, like the average fastball is around 92 to 94. And here it's like 96, 97, 98. And those few miles an hour make a difference. So it's like, and then you Darvish, wasn't he in the Korean league? He wasn't in the Japanese league. So
I thought he was Japanese.
He might have been Japanese. I don't know. I could be speaking wrong there, but I thought he.
That's even worse. You're from Japan, but you can't even play in your own damn league.
Yeah, no, that one I don't know offhand.
I mean, how much do you really? I really don't know a whole lot about the Korean baseball league as much as I guess I'd like to.
Yeah, I didn't know much about them except for COVID when they were the only league that was playing sports still. So it's like everybody was betting on Korean baseball. I'm like, that.
That's when you got a problem when you're sitting there betting on Korean because you need that fix.
Yeah, does that fit in your system? How's that work?
Yeah, no, I don't. That does not fit in my system even the slightest bit. So now, McLovin, you're what, a Houston Tech? You're a Houston fan, Astros.
I'm Houston everything with the exception of the Cowboys. The Cowboys is the only time I go outside of the city.
He's a bandwagon fan. I understand.
No, actually, in 1976, my dad put a Cowboys jacket on me, and I loved it so much that I fell in love with the team. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what, I've been with them since
Bandwagon.
1976, so I've been through a lot of crap and good times.
So, so the Astros, talking about them a little bit. Obviously, they didn't make it back this year. That the Rangers was able to kind of take that extra step and then win it for the first time ever against Arizona, which really probably, like I said, it's there's still a lot of people that are hurt that the Phillies didn't make it and that they should have been there, and of course they blew it. They blew it. I mean, I feel like that there was a little help from MLB, but MLB didn't lose those last two games, and that's the big deal. You know what I mean? They had to win. They had one job, win one out of the last two games, and they didn't do it. So, but I didn't like how MLB. I felt like MLB had worked the series to go down to Game 7. And that's what occurred. It was such a mess. I felt like they're like, hey, the umpires expanded the zones for the Arizona pitchers in Game 5 and games 4 and Game 5, and or Games 3 and Game 4 really. And then the Phillies won Game 5, and then in Game 6 and Game 7 they came home here and just went very, very cold. Very, very cold. So I feel that there's a chip on their shoulder that they want to get back there, and I think they're going to absolutely do that. But
that's why I'm so in favor, Pags and Bo, and I really hope it comes quickly. Is those electronic umpires where you get a standardized, strike zone that's not in favor of left, right, or up or down. I mean, it's a standardized thing, and everybody gets the same opportunity at the plate as the other guy got. And I hope they bring that in. I don't like to say like robotics do it, but sometimes you got to have robotics to keep it straight.
Yeah, I mean, you still need that home plate umpire, right? Because when
he'll still be there, but the call comes down from the booth as to whether or not it was a ball or a strike. That's really the only thing they're taking away is his ability to call what he thinks.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of with you there, just because the strike zone can be so subjective. Especially if it's like Angel Hernandez, it could be halfway to first base and you don't even know.
My Lord.
So
that's like the worst name in the world that you can mention, Angel Hernandez.
No, but that's exactly my point. Is if there was ever an umpire that's like driving the narrative to make the automated pitchers or automated strike counter, it's that, right? Because he'll call things that bounced off the plate, and he's like, oh, and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, you saw the dirt. So, yeah, I mean, it unfortunately.
Angel Hernandez called a couple of Astros games, and I was not happy with it at all. And it's for that exact reason.
Yeah, I've never seen a good game with him behind the plate.
Right. Or even when you appeal to him, he gets the appeals way wrong. He has the worst record as an umpire whatsoever. And the fact that that the union still protects him like that is bad. Yeah. He is the major reason why they have such a problem with umpires.
And it's funny because if you do appeal to him, if you do it with a little too much bass in your voice, boom, you're out of the game. He'll boot you.
The whole dance by Schwarber. You're over here, you're over here, you're up here, you're down here. You ain't got no effing idea.
Yep. And then see you later.
Right. I mean, the truth of the matter is that if they were able to take that away from him, he'd still figure out ways to screw it up.
Oh, he'd still get the plays wrong at the plate, but at least then you can review it.
Yeah. Thank God for the review, because if they didn't have the review, I mean, that would really be bad, because just for those situations.
I mean, it's bad that we have to change the game of baseball because he exists.
Yeah. I'm okay with everything that Major League Baseball's done, with the exception of the shift. I just wish they had not banned the shift. I think you take a lot of strategy away when you take that shift away. I mean, that's the only thing I didn't like. Everything else I thought was No, the pitch clock was great because games were shorter. The ability to only throw 2 times over to the bag. I thought. There's a lot of things that are great. I just didn't like the fact that they took the ability for the shift or took strategy away from the managers. I didn't like that.
I really like the limitation of throwing back to first for no other reason than we're finally seeing stolen bases again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I always enjoyed that part of the game. Right, I remember watching Ricky Henderson steal every base ever. Right, so it was something that got away from the
game. You used to have guys that would steal close to 100 bags a game, 100 bags a year, 80 bags a year. You know what I mean? Vince Coleman was big on that. And I'm not a St. Louis Cardinals fan, but you respected the speed. Same thing with Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson was just so fast on the base path and so good at watching the movements of the pitcher. His first step was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And that's how he stole all those bases. I mean, that's why he was so great at it.
That's how Michael Bourne was for the Astros when he was with us. I mean, that guy was lightning fast, and I think he could have. If he would have been in the way it is now, we only get 2 shots. His stolen backs would have been through the roof.
Sure.
Well, and I could appreciate that. What I kind of agree with you with the shift. I feel that since they instituted the pitch clock, that you don't need to ban the shift. The problem is that you had 30 seconds to get into the box every time a new player got up to bat. So it was 20 seconds in between pitches, but it was 30 seconds initially. I think if you make it, hey, you're going from the batter's box to the box, make it 25 seconds and don't ban the shift. You only give them 5 extra seconds. That means they better be running from where they're at to where they got to go.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that they can be set, or else they're going to miss out.
Yep. Yeah. Do it on the hop. Let's go.
Exactly. Hey, you gotta get over there, or else they're gonna bunt that way. Or hey, listen, it used to be that batters used to hit opposite field, or bunting. Bunting used to be a part of the game. It's not anywhere near that anymore. Which is a shame. Like a good bunt is hard to find anymore.
No, I'll tell you, when the Astros were going to the I do agree with that, but I'll tell you what, when the Astros were going to the playoffs, there was quite a few bunts that were laid down on us that really got us, honestly. Got a few bases and stuff and got us with a few runs.
Well, that was Arizona's game.
Yeah.
That's Arizona's game. And really, it should have been more of Seattle's game. Seattle should have played more small ball. Towards the end, they started to try to go, they tried to do the 3-run home run thing, and it's just not the way it worked. So and that's why I thought Seattle was out of it, because I thought Seattle could have made a big wave in the playoffs this year, and they didn't because they didn't make it.
That's one thing about the shit that everybody was complaining about was they felt like everybody was stacking up on their weak side. And I'm thinking to myself, if anything, that should encourage players to develop how to pull the ball the other way. Because if you pull the ball the other way, it's going to be a guaranteed hit 9 times out of 10 because there's nobody there.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, it's a double all day because no one's there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. Like, batters should absolutely be able to figure out how to bat to the opposite side. But on your comment about the Mariners, you knew they weren't going to be as good this year because they're the only team in the division that didn't add anything to their team.
Right. I'm talking last year, not this year.
Oh, last year. Oh, yeah.
Last year.
Especially after dispatching the Blue Jays immediately. But they gave Houston some work though.
Yeah, they did. I got a guy named Mickey. Every time Houston plays the Mariners, this guy's in my DMs telling me about how bad Houston got beat, and it's true though. You can't say that because they literally played us exceptionally well, and I was surprised that they were making moves. I'm like, why are you making moves? I mean, you got the right team. You just need to be consistent with what you're doing, or continue to be consistent and grow from what you're doing. Why are you shifting all these players? I don't think you needed to do that.
Well, and then the rest of our division added key pieces, and the Mariners really kind of stayed fast for this year, which is why they weren't as good. And then this offseason, I guess we're just resigned to the fact that we're going to be bad next year because we dumped talent, and then we've We've added nothing. So
Right.
are we going to be better than the A's? Yeah, probably, but barely, right? Like that'd
Everybody's going to be better than the A's. If you can't be better than the A's, you really should look at just taking the whole team and go to the minor leagues or something.
Well, that's what the A's did, right? They have a minor league team.
They are a minor league team.
There was one point where you guys were actually at the top of our division last year. You were at the top, and then of course you went down, but you were there. And I'm like, if you got a team that could be at the top, especially with the Rangers and the Astros and how well they were playing, and you did manage to get to the top, that tells me you're doing right things. Why would you subtract?
With 3 weeks left in the season?
Yeah.
I mean, it all switched hands in the last 3 weeks to those three teams. The Rangers were there, then it went to Seattle, then it went to Houston, then it went back to the Rangers on the last day, I think.
Yeah, it did.
The Rangers
No,
were winning on the last
You're
day.
right about that.
Yep.
And that's why I think if you were talking about adding to the team, why would you not add instead of subtract? Keep your strengths and improve your weaknesses. That's all you had to do. But now you're, like you said, now you're dumping all your guys, and that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, they basically had a fire sale. Like, this is going to be some ugly baseball from the Mariners unless they do something impressive soon, right? Because, I mean, we're not that far away from spring training starting to light up, guys reporting. So, I mean, they're going to have to if they're going to make a move, they better get on it. And I mean, unfortunately, I've seen this movie many, many times being a Mariners fan, that we're going to do a whole lot of nothing. And it's why I started the hashtag years ago, from hope to nope, right? Because they'll report, they'll kind of do good in spring training, and then they won't play baseball meaningfully in April. They'll kind of get it back together, right? They'll be sort of in the mix. The All-Star break happens. We forget how to play baseball for a month, and then we'll do just enough to miss the playoffs by 1 to 5 games every year.
Yeah.
Like, it is the most frustrating roller coaster, because they'll get these like runs where you're like, okay, here we go, we figured out how to play baseball, and then they're like, just kidding, we're gonna lose 8 in a row.
Well, and how long? I mean, J-Rod has what, like 5 years left on his contract? 4 years left?
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, they just released or just traded Kelnick, right? Which was one of our younger prospects that was playing well. They got rid of him. They've released quite a few people. So I mean, unfortunately, unless they do some very real moves, it's not promising.
Well, hey, listen, I wish you guys luck. If not, J-Rod can come to Philadelphia at any time. I'll be more than happy to trade for him. I think that he's probably one of your biggest assets that you have. Jay Buhner is way too old now. You guys can keep him. So
I think he could still get a couple hits.
I thought he's still on the payroll. I thought he really was still on the payroll, though. At least.
Honestly, I think Edgar Martinez could probably still get a couple hits.
Probably.
He never could run, so that's not the issue.
Hey,
You ain't got to run when you're hitting doubles and home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he was a double machine.
Yeah. You can do a little trot down the first and be good to go.
Yep.
There you go. Well, anyways, we are at the top of the hour. For everybody who hung with us today, thank you very much, and all the comments and such like that. We really do appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow. At least two of us. McLovin may show up later, depending on how he likes to show up a little late on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He likes to think he's got something else to do. I think he's just playing with his cat over there. So, anyways, but we will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you.